Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to greet our President's Leadership Council, trustees, deans, honorees, provost, university president, and other distinguished members of the Commencement Platform Party led by the University Registrar.
Good morning. Everyone looks bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. Members of the class of 2019, your family and friends, trustees, President's Leadership Council, deans, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to welcome you to this 174th commencement exercise in the 177th year in the life of the University of Notre Dame. We regret we had to move commencement indoors. The forecast was for rain, with periods of heavy rain with the likelihood of lightning striking within 10 miles of the stadium, which by law would require us to immediately stop commencement and vacate the field. We discussed the situation last evening and again early this morning and thought the best and safest way to proceed was to hold commencement indoors. We regret that not all of your family and friends could be with you here, but we are simulcasting these events on campus to many indoor locations, enough for all of your guests, and commencement will be live on the internet. We welcome all of you who are with us through those venues as well. Please remain standing for the singing of America the Beautiful, which will be led by Reverend James Foster. Father Foster.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Father Foster. Please be seated. We will begin our commencement exercises with an invocation, which will be delivered by our Salutatorian Annelise Gill-Wiehl from St. Louis, Missouri. Annelise is an environmental engineering major with a minor in international development studies. Annelise has excelled as a student. For example, she was inducted into all the top honor societies in engineering and won research grants and fellowships too numerous to mention. Annelise has excelled as a leader and volunteer, tutoring engineering students, working in student government, and serving as co-president of a major student organization, among other things. But as one of her professors said, what Annelise really excelled at was, without her ever realizing it, being a selfless and generous human being who determinedly used her many talents to make a difference. For example, Annelise spent the summer after her freshman year building runoff collection tanks to harvest clean water in Uganda and developed a work and budget plan to make sure what she did was sustained. She spent the summer after her sophomore year in Tanzania studying how to create practical clean energy alternatives. She returned to Notre Dame for her junior year and, between everything else she did, learned Swahili so she could return to Tanzania the summer following her junior year to work directly with the villagers to implement the plan she had developed the year before. Not surprisingly, Annelise earned the Reverend Thomas A. Steiner Award for excellence and commitment to engineering in service to common good, and the John W. Gardner Student Leadership Award for exemplifying the ideals of the university through outstanding volunteer service beyond campus. In the fall, Annelise will pursue a PhD in energy resources at the University of California, Berkeley. Ladies and gentlemen, our salutatorian, Annelise Gill-Wiehl.
As is our tradition at the University of Notre Dame, let us begin with prayer. Loving Father, on this occasion of the 174th Commencement Ceremony of the University of Notre Dame, we pause to praise you for all that you have done. We thank you for sustaining Notre Dame from a humble beginning to a major academic institution today. You gave us courage as we began our journey. Through your grace, we found a home here with space to study the past, research the interconnectedness of your world, live in the present, and worship your name. We thank you for providing guidance and wisdom to formulate opinions and study the work of your hands. As we faced exams and conflicts, there was a comfort in knowing we were not alone. You were patient as we changed majors and discerned our vocations and paths beyond these hallowed grounds. You provided the professors, family, and friends who have surrounded, nurtured, and encouraged us. You have made possible the accomplishments we celebrate today. We ask for your continued support as we conclude our time here at Notre Dame. Give us fortitude to persevere in the face of the unknown. Through your intercession, help us to bring all people together, to seek liberation of the oppressed, to work towards an end to poverty and suffering, and to find relief and a cure for the sick. Inspire us to continue investigating and moving the world around us. Raise us up when we fall and allow us to proceed on the path you have illuminated. Challenge us to carry our passions with us and pursue work for the betterment of humanity. Walk with us as graduates from Our Lady's University. We ask this in your name, one God, forever and ever. Please be seated. Oh, you are, sorry.
Thank you, Annelise, for a truly beautiful prayer. It is now my privilege to introduce this year's valedictorian, Sofia Carozza from South Bend, Indiana. Sofia is a neuroscience and behavior major in the College of Science with a supplemental major in theology and a minor in philosophy, politics, and economics in the College of Arts and Letters. She is a Hesburgh-Yusko Scholar, a Glynn Family Honors Scholar, and a Soren Fellow in the De Nicola Center for Ethics and Culture. Sofia has been busy both on campus and off. On campus, Sofia was a research assistant at the Institute for Advanced Study in the Development and Psychopathology Laboratory. She has been involved with ND Students for Worker Justice, Show Some Skin, and the Women's Boxing Club. And she shaved her head to raise funds for the St. Baldrick's Foundation through the Bald and Beautiful program. Off campus, Sofia is a mental health coach and leads an exercise program for youth at the St. Joseph County Juvenile Justice Center. She spent the summer after her freshman year tutoring children with developmental disabilities and psychiatric disorders in Paraguay. The summer after her sophomore year conducting neuroscience research at the National Institutes of Health as an Amgen scholar. The summer after her junior year translating the science of toxic stress into initiatives for the state of Montana. Abroad, she has studied in Jerusalem and Bolivia. She is fluent in Italian and conversational in Spanish. She is a classically trained harpist. And lest you think she surely must have ignored her studies doing all of this, she will graduate with a perfect 4.0 GPA. Sofia was awarded a Marshall Scholarship, and in the fall will use it to pursue a master's in neuroscience and a doctorate in psychiatry at the University of Cambridge. It is my pleasure to present to you Sofia Carozza for the valedictory.
Ms. Noonan, Father Jenkins, Dr. Francis, distinguished faculty and guests, dear friends and loved ones, welcome, and thank you for celebrating with us today, especially those of you who traveled a long way to be here. Now to my fellow members of the class of 2019. We are invited today to step forth from this institution. We are invited to exit this arena and greet what lies ahead. It's an invitation to respond to what we've been given by putting our learning in the service of justice. Will you say yes? One of the most inspiring examples of saying yes in my life is the story of Aldo Treinta. Originally from Italy, Aldo was sent to Paraguay as a missionary in 1989. He had no idea what awaited him, but upon his arrival, he opened his heart to the community. He began to welcome the ill, the hurt, and the abandoned into his home. These relationships eventually grew into a foundation that serves the needs of the poorest of Asunción's poor. I had the privilege of spending a summer with his niños, the children in his orphanage. And as I worked alongside Aldo, I witnessed his extraordinary joy in the midst of darkness. I saw that Aldo had become fully alive by responding to the needs of others, by saying yes to his calling. It was a yes a bit like Aldo's that brought us all here 4 years ago. As young and hopeful seniors in high school, we chose to accept the invitation to attend Our Lady's University. This demanded hard work and sacrifice, not just from us, but from our parents, coaches, and teachers back home. To all who supported our education, thank you. Words cannot express our gratitude, because saying yes to a Notre Dame education has changed everything for us. It's taught us how to live a truly human life. As my freshman seminar professor taught me to do, I'll frame this in 3 points. There are 3 lessons from our time here, lessons on living a truly human life. These lessons will serve us well as we step forward from Notre Dame. Lesson number 1, we are not just a mind, but a body and a spirit. We've all heard Blessed Basil Moreau's words, "The mind will not be cultivated at the expense of the heart." But it's not a trite cliche here at Notre Dame, it's enacted. We saw it in the professors who cared about our flourishing and didn't just see us as a brain in a vat. We saw it when we ran the Holy Half with friends, or fought in Bengal and Baraka bouts for the Holy Cross missions. We saw it when we fed our spirits on pilgrimage and retreat. We saw it as we expanded our horizons through Appalachia seminars and study abroad. Our education didn't just happen in DBART. Because as humans, we are not merely thinking things, as Descartes would have us believe. We are physical, spiritual, moral, and social beings. So our worth cannot be measured by our productivity, nor our dignity by the quality of our resume. No one helps us see this more clearly than Saint Andre Bessette, a Holy Cross brother who had no formal education. He wasn't considered smart enough to become a priest, so he spent his life opening the door of St. Joseph Oratory. And yet, this doorman's love, his welcome of the sick and outcast, made him the first saint of the Congregation of Holy Cross. As the playwright Paul Claudel put it, what is the value of the world in comparison with life? And what is the value of life if not to be given? Notre Dame is full of incredible mentors who helped us live according to this different standard of value. We each met professors, rectors, staff, and Holy Cross priests who are living examples of what it means to be truly human. Personally, I am deeply indebted to Dr. Nancy Michael, who taught me how to be a neuroscientist. Through her knowledge of brain structure, Dr. Michael engaged every part of my life. As a scientist, She modeled for me what it means to be a loving mother and a fearless community leader. She challenged me to love others fiercely, to put my convictions into action, and to cultivate wonder at the miracle of my own life. Mentors like Dr. Michael helped us see that Notre Dame wasn't just a training ground for our future career. Our education was the formation of our whole person. So it demanded that we engage questions of ultimate meaning and value, that we freely debate and disagree in our pursuit of truth. Because, as Pope John Paul II wrote, we are guided by the certainty of always knowing the fount of truth, the one for whom our hearts were made. For whom our hearts were made. Because we are not just a mind, we are a body and a spirit as well. Lesson number 2, risk everything for others. Through our time here, we've learned to let go of our comfort and our pride and move beyond our fear. Because a Notre Dame education puts everything at risk. We had to let go of what we thought we already knew. We had to allow what we learned in the classroom, in our dorms, in the South Bend community, to change us. This part of our education started on day 1 in our dorms. Living with randomly assigned roommates challenged our preconceptions. We were invited into relationship with people who were different from us, different in small things like sleeping habits and majors, and different in big things like nationality and ideology. We were invited into friendships with campus workers who reminded us that we weren't here for our self-interest, but to strive together toward a common good. Because we need each other. We need each member of the Notre Dame family. Last year, I traveled to El Salvador through campus ministry to explore the life of Oscar Romero. Romero was called to action by the unjust suffering of the poor. He said yes, sacrificing comfort and ultimately his life for the liberation of his people. On the final day of the pilgrimage, we had the privilege of celebrating Mass at the site of his martyrdom. His canonization had just been announced. So at that Mass, I said the words, Saint Romero, for the first time. And I knew that Saint Romero was inviting me to a truly human love. Not a love of humanity in the abstract, but a painful and messy love of the people right in front of me. As the Russian novelist Dostoevsky wrote, love in action is a harsh and dreadful thing compared to love in dreams. Such a love asks us to embrace our needs, to confront our failures, to ask the difficult questions, to open up about our mental illness, our loneliness, and our confusion. Because at a Catholic university, suffering cannot be a reason for shame or silence. Our places of darkness are opportunities for encounter and healing. And only by embracing our own needs and moving beyond our fear can we put our education in the service of justice. My friends have researched the homelessness crisis, founded prison ministries, and lived at Catholic worker houses. After graduation, some are entering the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, others are doing ACE, and still others are going into politics. Because we've learned that while we aren't meant to help or save others, we must get our hands dirty working alongside them. Saying yes to this risk can be uncomfortable, painful, and costly. But in the words of Luigi Giussani, the condition for being true in a relationship is sacrifice. Only through sacrifice will we find fulfillment. We become truly human by giving of ourselves, by pouring ourselves out in love, no matter our chosen career. We are going forward from Notre Dame not as bystanders, but as protagonists of justice and mercy. And so we must risk everything. Lesson number 3, live reality intensely. Ultimately, the invitation we receive every day is this: to live reality. We are called to live exactly what we have in front of us. This means confronting life's problems, the dramatic ones, like a death in the family or a loss of faith, but also the not-so-dramatic ones. Here at Notre Dame, we've learned to confront the boredom of our Gen Chem homework, the sacrifice of caring for a sick roommate, the dreariness of the bus to O'Hare. And now, we're asked to confront the challenges of a 9-to-5 job, a new city, or a long commute to work. If we pay attention to reality, we will see that even in these burdens, there is a promise. There is something positive offered to us. It's the kindness in the gaze of a stranger, the beauty of a sunrise on your morning commute, the comfort of sharing your worries with a fellow domer. If we stay attentive, these moments will show us that there is an answer to life's deepest questions, inviting us to discover it. It's possible to live the challenges of life in a truly human way. I've learned this by sharing daily life with the women of Kavanaugh Hall. I'm still a beginner, still learning to live my reality intensely. But I'm certain that if we are to be happy, we must take this invitation seriously. What do we need for the journey? We need the grace to work hard and the willingness to serve others. We need to make choices rather than keeping every door open out of fear. And ultimately, we need a community, a companionship that reminds us who we are, that helps us take risks, and that reawakens us to the meaning of life. This companionship won't come automatically. We won't be able to walk down the hall of our section and find our closest friends anymore. We will face loneliness, but we can bear this burden without settling for less. Because at Notre Dame, we haven't just been given a community, but been formed to create community. And as Blessed Moreau reminds us, the cross is our only hope, and this hope does not disappoint. Class of 2019, we have been extraordinarily blessed on this campus. And who we are is not measured by the number of opportunities in front of us, but by how we respond to what has been given to us. Today, we are invited to respond to the gift of our education fearlessly. We are invited to say yes to a truly human life, to say yes to our calling, just as Aldo Treinta did 30 years ago, and the patronness of this university did 2,000 years ago. Notre Dame, our mother, is looking down from her perch on the Golden Dome on this day, as on all days. She will accompany us as we too are invited to bring justice and peace into this world. If we respond as Mary did, with our whole selves, and risk everything as we seek to live our reality intensely, we will set the world on fire. Will you say yes?
Sofia, you challenged us with 3 lessons that you said we must address to be truly human. You said to accomplish them, we must be willing to risk everything, to actively make choices, and to live in community. Will the class of 2019 say yes? Obviously they will. And I know that all the rest of us have been inspired by your words as well. Thank you, Sofia, for the beautiful message, and good luck at Cambridge in the years beyond. We will now proceed to the conferral of honorary degrees. The highest degree in the Academy is the doctorate, a degree which signifies that the recipient has completed a rigorous course of study, passed a stern set of examinations, and produced a major piece of original scholarship. Fulfilling these requirements demonstrates that the individual has enormous potential to improve and enrich the world. From time to time, universities also award honorary doctorates. As difficult as an academic doctorate is to achieve, honorary doctorates are even more difficult, for they are not awarded for demonstrating the potential to improve the world, but for actually improving it. As such, when a university gives an honorary degree, it is not giving an honor to someone. It is recognizing honor and virtue that already exist in that individual. It is being honored by the person's acceptance of the degree. Their presence honors us. 6 such individuals have been selected to receive honorary degrees in this year's class. We will now confer those degrees. At the 174th commencement, the May exercises, the University of Notre Dame confers the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on a respected and tireless leader whose steadfast stewardship of the university's resources has extended the global reach of Notre Dame's teaching and research missions and expanded its impact on the regional economy. He left apartheid South Africa in 1986 for an untenured faculty position at a university that, a year earlier, he had never heard of. After establishing himself as an award-winning teacher, a distinguished scholar, and respected academic administrator, he served for 15 years as executive vice president, during which he managed a vast portfolio with scrupulous dedication, oversaw a doubling of the annual budget and a quadrupling of the endowment, enhanced campus safety and beauty, and supervised the construction of dozens of new buildings that facilitate innovative scholarship and improve student life. Yet he never forgot that the heart of Notre Dame is its people, the students, the staff, the faculty, and its educational mission. Fittingly, upon his retirement from the administration, he will devote his time once again to the classroom. On John Affleck Graves, Notre Dame, Indiana. The University of Notre Dame confers a degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on a lifelong artisan of the cardinal virtue of justice, who, by devoting her keen intellect and unimpeachable character to the rule of law, has enriched the common life of millions as a district attorney, judge, and associate justice of the Supreme Court of California. Raised in a home which reverenced the written word and the first in her family to attend college, she has labored to make the application of law fair and discernible for all, regardless of position or station. And, as an instructor, mentor, and model, has formed countless young lawyers in the ways of jurisprudence. Not content to expand the freedom and flourishing of her community from the bench alone, this generous jurist has applied her wisdom, wit, and muscle to the missions of an impressive array of charitable organizations that champion the dignity of the needy, educate students, and make incarnate her devotion to our fundamental responsibility to each other. On Carol Ann Corrigan, Oakland, California. The University of Notre Dame confers the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on a woman whose way with words helped define a political party, 2 presidencies, and generations of Americans. Born in Brooklyn and raised in an Irish Catholic family, she waited tables to pay her way through college, worked in broadcast journalism, and then transitioned to speechwriting, earning acclaim for penning some of the most memorable lines delivered by Presidents Reagan and Bush. Now a much-decorated author and Wall Street Journal columnist whose honors include the Pulitzer Prize for commentary, she stays true to her political perspective while speaking truth to power, bringing clarity to complex concepts through direct, simple, yet still eloquent language, and bridging the gaps that divide us in measured, informed, and civil terms. On Margaret Ellen Noonan, New York, New York. The University of Notre Dame confers the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on an internationally lauded economist of taxation and public finance, whose research on the intense incentives shaping Americans' investment decisions and retirement savings has enlightened fellow scholars and informed a generation of leaders in business and government. Humble and humorous, he taught his 3 children basic economic principles through a consistently levied ice cream tax, and modeled for his dozens of doctoral students the favorite counsel of a fortune cookie: put the data where you find good use. Such celebrated wisdom, acuity, and youthful enthusiasm led the former national high school debate champion to transform his fascination with a contested topic into a lifetime of scholarship. Nearly 40 years at MIT and more than 10 as president of the National Bureau of Economic Research, the authority on U.S. recessions and recoveries. On James Michael Paterba, Belmont, Massachusetts. The University of Notre Dame confers the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, on an accomplished pediatric physician and expert in respiratory illnesses who was appointed in 2015 by Pope Francis to a 2nd term as president of the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile, one of Latin America's finest institutions of higher learning. Known as a wise and engaged leader who takes time to listen despite a schedule which finds him juggling weekly patient appointments with his many other duties, he is a tireless champion for inclusion for underprivileged students and those with special needs. A meticulous scholar and influential leader, he speaks and writes on subjects ranging from cystic fibrosis and childhood asthma to the future of higher education in his home country. Rooted in his devotion to his family and his Catholic faith, he lives out the gospel call as a healer and a teacher. Don Ignacio Sanchez, Santiago, Chile. The University of Notre Dame confers a degree of Doctor of Engineering, honoris causa, on an ingenious materials scientist and chemical engineer whose advances in energy storage systems and power sources for biomedical devices have resulted in more than 150 U.S. patents, including the tiny battery that enabled the creation of small implanted devices that correct irregular heartbeats in more than 300,000 patients annually. The daughter of Latvian parents who fled Soviet occupation to live in a refugee camp for several years before they immigrated to America, this distinguished professor, member of the National Academy of Engineering, the National Hall of Inventors, and recipient of the National Medal of Technology and Innovation, has also developed batteries for neurostimulators, drug delivery systems, and industrial environments. Having saved or enhanced the lives of millions, this chief scientist at Brookhaven National Laboratory and one of the world's leading energy storage researchers now seeks to transform the Earth's future by extending the stamina of electric vehicles, harnessing the effects of hydroelectric and geothermal power, and bolstering the potential of wind and solar energy. On Esther Sans Takeuchi, South Setauket, New York.
After a contentious presidential election in 2016, the selection committee for the Pulitzer Prize found in our commencement speaker a distinguished writer of commentary. In the precise language of the committee, Peggy Noonan was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for, quote, rising to the moment with beautifully rendered columns that connected readers to the shared virtues of Americans during one of the nation's most divisive political campaigns. Fully capable of rapier wit and wisdom in the dismantling of a worthy opponent, Miss Noonan nonetheless never results to the vulgarity or character assassination that too often passes for legitimate criticism these days. She is patriotic without being chauvinistic. She believes in common decency, but is not naive. She is a critic who seeks common ground. Born in Brooklyn to an Irish Catholic family, the daughter of a merchant seaman, Peggy Noonan sounds as if she attended Notre Dame. But she graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson instead. She began her career in radio news in Boston and in writing commentary for Dan Rather in his CBS radio broadcasts. Her national acclaim as a writer exploded when it was learned that she was responsible for much of President Reagan's soaring rhetoric and President H.W. Bush's most memorable lines. The author of 9 books and a must-read columnist each weekend in the Wall Street Journal, Ms. Noonan writes with unmistakable verve, an engaged mind, and an open heart. She recently wrote, quote, even honest love of country isn't allowed to hold us together anymore. America, to my mind, is what Pope Francis says the church was, a field hospital after battle. We are a beautiful and great nation, but a needy one, but a torn up one in need of repair, unquote. Ms. Noonan's voice provides critical assistance in that badly needed repair. Please join me in warmly welcoming to the podium Ms. Peggy Noonan, the University of Notre Dame's 174th commencement speaker.
Good morning, all. Father Jenkins, Board of Trustees, esteemed faculty, students, distinguished fellow honorees, I thank you for this from the bottom of my heart. Father, I must say, I found the tribute you just read to be almost embarrassingly flattering. But that's because I wrote it. So I guess factor that in. Normally I just say I don't deserve those kind words, but then I have arthritis and I don't deserve that either, so what the heck? I want you to know, Father John, I count it as a great compliment of my life that you said I sound like I went to Notre Dame. This makes me want to go to Old Finney's and have a natty light. Let's all meet there. We'll get through this. We'll meet there. I must begin. I note a remarkable thing. To begin with, this great institution is 177 years old, which of course makes it younger than some of this year's presidential candidates. Oh, come on. But in all those years, it has never quite happened in an utterly formal sense that the class valedictorian, salutatorian, and commencement speaker were all women. Now, this reminds me of a story. A few years ago, a boy came home from grade school and told his father that he was second in his class and that a girl had won top place. So his father started to tease him, and he said, "Surely, Tommy, you're not going to be beaten by a mere girl." And Tommy said, "You know, Dad, girls aren't nearly as mere as they used to be." So it is a delight to be with these strong, smart women who are not at all mere, Annelise and Sofia, and who, along with Notre Dame's strong, smart men, make this university the great thing that it is. And so I am honored to address the great and fabled class of 2019. This is your day. We honor not only you, the graduates, but your parents, your families, and all the overflow rooms, your friends, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, everyone who made the triumph of a Notre Dame degree possible. Nothing happens alone, or no great personal achievement does. So all honor to whatever little platoon helped you land on this shore. I mean to be brief today. I'm going to try to be at least as interesting as the redacted Mueller report. I do not wish to take part in any campus controversies, though I note that under our gowns, many of us up here are wearing leggings. Even Father Jenkins. But I must say there is a tenderness to the sight of all of you today. It's a corny thing to say, but I want to see it. But I want to say it. When people show unhidden joy in their accomplishments and good fortune and blessings, witnessing it feels almost intimate. And that is why all graduations, for all the pomp and ceremony and brass bands, all of them are so personally moving every year. I remember Bobby Kennedy saying of another bright class at another time, he said in a commencement address, quote, "You're about to enter the great world with all its splendor, but all its challenges and hardships and tests also." And he said, "And so my advice to you is, don't go. Stay here. It's nice here." I found I, too, have only one piece of advice for you, and it is for when you yourselves, if you choose, and if you are blessed, become parents. That advice is, never put a child wearing Superman pajamas on the top bunk. Just don't do it. Nothing good will happen. You'll thank me one day. Now, you are well used to great praise for this great school. I join it. You are a great private institution and a great Catholic university. You have a mighty endowment, access to the best, a rich field of scholars and thinkers. You are an intellectual powerhouse. But it is also true that Notre Dame occupies a very special piece of terrain in the American psyche. If you are perhaps of a certain age, certainly Irish Catholic, Notre Dame lives in your head, whether you've ever been here or not. It is now and always, as you know, Newt Rockne. It is the soundtrack from Rudy, that rousing music when they carry him on the shoulders off the field. Notre Dame is touchdown, Jesus, the Hail Mary pass, the Fighting Irish, the Four Horsemen, the Golden Dome. It is Ted Hesburgh. It is what we have been as Americans, how we've seen ourselves and wish still to be heroes living and working together. Now, if you worked for Ronald Reagan, as I did, of course, you think of George Gipp, whom Reagan played in Newt Rockne All-American. Now, Reagan's attachment to this university, as you well know, was such that it was the first school he visited after he'd been shot in March of 1981. But he'd made a commitment to speak at graduation, and he kept it, marking what he called the first time he ever turned in a college assignment on time. You gave him an honorary degree. He said he always thought the first one was honorary. But on that day, May 17th, 1981, Notre Dame, having a sophisticated sense of what he had been through, it had been worse than had been said by the White House, you knew it. Having had a sophisticated sense of what he'd been through, Notre Dame wore its heart on its sleeve, greeting him with a standing ovation and great spontaneous cheers. Now, the president that day said, "A university like this is a storehouse of knowledge, mostly because the freshmen bring so much in and the seniors take so little away." But he said the thing that had interested him most when he was a young man about the story of George Gipp is the fact that the students on the team had never known Gip. He'd been a few years older than all of them. They didn't know his story until Coach Rockney told it to them in the locker room on that terrible day when they were losing so bad. Now, they were a fractious team, Reagan said. Apparently, they didn't get along, but they went back onto the field and turned the game around, not out of affection for Gip, whom again they hadn't known, but out of loyalty to the idea of having a heart, of hanging together, working together, coming through, out of loyalty to the idea of loyalty itself. Reagan that day touched on the great themes of 20th century conservatism, man and the state. He raised high the individual, but he also said these words. He said, government has certain legitimate functions which it can perform very well. It can be responsive to the people. It can be humane and compassionate. But when it tries to do things that are not its proper province, it will not do them so well. It has a tendency to fail there. He wasn't saying find the balance. He was saying use your discernment, use your judgment. And he was speaking not in a partisan way, but to both parties. So today, I want to speak briefly about that phrase, proper province. Reagan respected reality. The spirit of Reaganism was in line with the real need of the era. The economy was stagnant, double-digit inflation and unemployment, a mess. He knew the America of his time was in need of being unleashed, of rising, of throwing off unhelpful barriers so the country would flourish. That was the urgent need. Now, to me, and at its best, conservatism, which of course is one of America's two great political tendencies, but conservatism is not a reaction, but a reminder from a wise old friend. It is not the antidote to progressivism. It is not the antidote to anything. It is its own vivid and particular mood or attitude. It is an attempt at wisdom grounded in knowledge of human history and human nature. It lacks the shine of newness, but perhaps that's because it has withstood the test of time. Its weathered look is testament to its enduring power. Edmund Burke spoke of an unseen compact between the living, the dead, and the unborn. Margaret Thatcher was less poetic. She said the facts of life are conservative. Conservatives are always still trying to define conservatism, which suggests it is a lively thing, dynamic, still changing, finding new expressions in new eras. Adam Gopnik of The New Yorker has just written a good book about what he calls the moral adventure of liberalism. And that's good. I think he is in part trying to free liberalism from a feeling of mere ideology. He says liberalism finds its best expression in 1,000 small sanities. So I ask, how does conservatism find its best expression now in the 21st century? What are its small sanities? I happen to see wisdom in the words of Oscar Hammerstein, the great Broadway lyricist. Asked in a TV interview 60 years ago by Mike Wallace if Eastern media folk weren't mostly or all liberal, Hammerstein wasn't defensive at all. He said, yes, we are. He said, yes, I am. And yes, he said, this affects the world, the view of the world that Americans are given, but he figured liberals need conservatives to hold them back, and conservatives need liberals to pull them forward. And in our history, I think that's been kind of pretty true. Now, there are many conservatives right now who, looking down the road to future presidential cycles, to moments beyond this one, who long to return to the 20th century arguments for smaller government and spending. And I understand. You don't want government bigger than it has to be. You always want taxes lower rather than higher. You don't want to dishearten people. In an age of deficits, you want to keep your eye on spending. But I believe that limited style of conservatism, while very right for its time, is not now enough in and of itself because it is not fully in line with the crises of this moment or of its reigning facts. I believe the need now is not so much for unleashing as undergirding, steadying, strengthening, supporting, so that America can flourish. The federal government will not likely become small or inexpensive in our lifetimes. There's almost no political will for it in Congress. They privately admit this, or within the parties where they'll privately admit it. What we have now for the foreseeable future is two parties of large government, one leaning a little this way on the issues, the other that. And to me now, the important question is what that government does. I believe America needs help right now, and America knows it. The reasons are so obvious that we've almost stopped saying them, but we've been living through, as a nation, for perhaps 30 years, an ongoing cultural catastrophe. You know all the words that I will say now: illegitimacy, the decline of faith, low family formation, child abuse and neglect, drugs, poor education. But all of that exists alongside of, and is made worse by, an entertainment culture from which the poor and neglected are unprotected, and which is devoted to violence and nihilism. Politically, as a people, we are constantly, bitterly pitted against each other along racial, religious, and many other lines. Culturally, we are force-fed a picture of America as an ugly, racist, misogynist nation, fruit of a poison tree, as somebody said. So even honest love of country isn't allowed to hold us together so much anymore. And I believe we're losing through all these things some higher sense of ourself. America right now has a strong economy. Growth is solid. Unemployment is way down. Employment is way up. Thank God. But underneath that, America is, as Father John quoted, a torn up, wounded place in need of repair. And honestly, I'm not fussy about where the repair comes from, what levels, what entities, and I don't think the American people are either. I just think they want it to come soon. Now, all of this, to my mind, comes within a certain historical fact. You can't see all the world's weapons, all its mischief, its malice, its accidents too, and not know that someday we as a country will face a bad day or a series of bad days, and everything will depend on our ability to hold together and hold fast. A strong people will make their way through it together and to the other side. But with so much tearing us apart now, will we have that sense of cohesion and solidarity? This is often on my mind. So my belief is that whatever holds us together now, whatever makes us stronger, brings us together, binds us close right now, is good and necessary and must be encouraged with whatever it takes. Conservatives pride themselves on being earthbound, and that's nice. They respect gravity. But I would say, they haven't asked, but I would say they should step up, just step up a few steps higher, change their vantage point, see this country more clearly, Don't be battling right now to make government smaller. Don't be talking about that. But I mean, don't make believe that's what you're doing. Don't make believe you're doing that. Instead, make government more helpful, more pertinent to all of the urgencies around us. Shift focus. Direct government toward conservative ends. Focus on conservings. We are hearing now and listening to those running for the Democratic nomination for the presidency. They would, most of them come forward and say they would shift things more towards progressive ends. And they will talk about it. And they have many interesting thoughts on global climate change, Medicare for all, reparations debates, and such. Fine, let those debates commence and continue. But what would a government aimed at conservative ends look like? I can't say because we can't go too long in a commencement address, but just a few things that my mind went to. First of all, whatever might help families form, grow, and endure, whatever will help, do it. Make it a matter of national policy. America is in a severe and each year growing mental health crisis. Let's try to solve it. Help give families what they need. They don't have enough recourse now when somebody inside the family is turning sick. My goodness, teaching the lost boys of the working and middle class how to live. The infrastructure bills floating around Washington are good in themselves to me, because we need better bridges, tunnels, and roads, and because we need the pride as a nation that comes from making them better, like Eisenhower's building of the U.S. highway system in the 1950s, a spirit of we can still do that. But I am most for infrastructure because it could provide a great national setting for breakthrough mentorship in which men teach boys how to do something. I swear they should go out and recruit in the most difficult and detached neighborhoods and towns, dragging teenage boys out of the house, integrating them into a world of dynamism and competence. Couldn't we work a little bit harder on helping our immigrants become Americans? However the illegal immigration crisis is resolved or not resolved, there are tens of millions of immigrants, legal and illegal, already here. Who helps them love America? Who can teach them lovingly our history and what it means to be part of this great project called America? It is a tragedy of the past 15 years' immigration debates that we've lost sight of a central fact that has everything to do with our future. We, America, we have the best immigrants in the world. Let's just try to help them a little bit more. Thank you. Only two more. What can be done to focus more on threats to religious freedom? They are real and will get realer. You know this. You know, the polls are interesting. They say Americans are not always breaking down the doors to go to church, but they respect religious life. They intuitively understand the crucial nature of religious institutions, and they don't want to see them under siege. They don't want long-held religious beliefs compromised or trampled by the state. I feel I've known America a long time. Deep down, it actually respects you when the dogma lives loudly within you. That was my shout out to Amy Barrett. Finally, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. You know, just for fun, break up big tech. You know all the reasons: deliberate abuse of privacy, deliberately addicting people, monopoly. They turned it into a convenience, into a utility, fine, regulated. At this point, do it to prove we are not passive observers, that we are not passive forgive me. At this point, do it to prove that we are not passive observers of the corruption of our society, but active combatants against it. To show, thank you. We would be showing, as in the highways, and I hope in the infrastructure, we can still do something big and together as a people. So there's many more points. I mean, you could all do your 10-point system if you wanted to, because you live in America and look at it every day and you know what's not working. But to me, really the point of conservatism is to conserve, it is to protect and strengthen, to focus on ends not abstract and notional, but immediate and concrete. Everyone in politics always want to go through the old motions because everyone in politics wants to be safe. They figure what worked in the past will work in the future. But challenges change, eras change. It does no good to repeat old mantras, especially when you don't even mean to enact them. So be farsighted, I would say to my friends. See America's real state and real plight. If a government will be large, it will need sober-minded stewards. If a government will be large, it will require protecting the system that made our wealth and allowed us to be generous with the world and with ourselves, and that is free market capitalism. Conservatives especially don't just accept that system, they actually love it, and you fight hard for what you love. And so let me add only one more thing from the writer and thinker Yuval Levin. He said, conservatives have to stop hating our institutions. A conservatism that despises its society's institutions is self-destructive. He is exactly right. In our political life, both sides have big sins. But you cannot hate and denigrate government, the press, the courts, our institutions, and claim at the same time that you are trying to be constructive. You are not. You cannot hate the other side and claim you are trying to help. You are not. Fight failures, fight oversteps, fight arrogance and high-handedness, but we must do it in a spirit of repair. The secret of successful politics: be moved more by what you love than what you hate. And so I am done, but I would say all this is a matter of proper province. All this to me is being loyal to the team. All this to me is being loyal to the idea of loyalty itself. And so I thank you. It has been an honor to be here on this great day, May 19th, 2019, in South Bend, Indiana, at the University of Notre Dame, in the house that Rockne built and Ted Hesburgh too. May God bless you and keep you, the class of 2019. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Noonan, you have been a model of civil discourse in a world that desperately needs such models. You have always spoken with unvarnished honesty and encouraged others to do the same, even if they disagreed with you. And your eloquence in written and spoken form entertains, educates, enlightens, and for all of us today, inspires. Thank you for serving as our commencement speaker. Thank you for ensuring that our seniors will take away a lot of knowledge and wisdom, thanks to you in part. Thank you very much. Just as you graduates will soon begin a new life outside the university, so too will several members of the faculty who enter emeritus status from Notre Dame with the close of this academic year. Each has served the university and countless numbers of students with distinction and commitment. You can find a full list of their names on page 72 of the program. It is my privilege to recognize those emeriti faculty in attendance today. I will ask each emeritus faculty member to rise and face the students when I call your name and I state the number of years you have served the university. Please remain standing until all names have been called, and please hold your applause until all names have been called. James J. McKenna, Professor Emeritus, Anthropology, 21 years. John H. Robinson, Professor Emeritus, Law School, 38 years. John Sitter, Professor Emeritus, English, 15 years. Carol E. Tanner, Professor Emerita, Physics, 29 years. Sandra M. Teixeira, Professional Specialist Emerita, Romance Languages and Literatures, 12 years. Hannelore H. Weber, Professional Specialist Emerita, German and Russian Languages and Literatures, 28 years. And Henry M. Weinfield, Professor Emeritus, Program of Liberal Studies, 28 years. Please join me in recognizing these faculty. On behalf of the university, I now have the honor of recognizing faculty members for their excellence in teaching and advising. Their names are listed on pages 80 to 82 of the commencement program. Earlier today, the photos of the award winners were shown on the video boards. I ask all faculty receiving awards for their teaching and advising to please rise, and for all of us to thank and acknowledge them. Class of 2019, while these individuals were singled out for their excellence in teaching and advising, it is right to recognize your other teachers as well. Next to your families, you may owe more to your faculty and rectors for your degree, for your development, for your formation, for your entire university education than to any other single group of people. Without them, the knowledge you acquired would have come without insight or wisdom, and the teaching you received would have lacked special caring. In the future, when you look back at the time you spent here at Notre Dame, I suspect it will not be the facts you learned that you cherish the most, but the people who clothe them in wisdom, insight, and caring. I ask all faculty and rectors to rise, and for the class of 2019 to give them one final ovation. Although all graduates here today have earned the ultimate prize, their degree, many of our students have also won special awards and prizes. These students are listed on pages 72 and 81 to 98 of the commencement booklet. I ask all of you who have received awards and prizes, undergraduate, graduate, and professional students, to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Next, I ask you to join me in congratulating those students who are graduating with Latin honors. For those students graduating summa cum laude, who are in the top 5% of the college's class, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. With those students graduating magna cum laude who are in the top 15% of their college class, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. And with those students graduating cum laude who are in the top 30% of their college class, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to call on the Chair of the Board of Trustees, Mr. John J. Brennan, for the introduction of our Laetare Medal winner.
Thank you, Dr. Bursch. Sir, as the writer James Baldwin once said to a group of teachers, the paradox of education is precisely this, that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated. While you are the product of the Catholic education from kindergarten to Juris Doctor, you were also born into the American South at a time when even Sunday Mass was segregated. Had you despaired at the society in which you were being educated, no one could have blamed you, but you didn't. Instead, as the first African-American student admitted to the Loyola University of New Orleans Law School, you broke the color barrier for those who came behind you. As the beloved president of Xavier University for a remarkable 47 years, you built a better society by educating thousands of African-American students, and as advisor to popes and presidents, you called your church and country to racial justice. As you have said, education is the road out of poverty. There is no doubt about that. You have helped pave that road for thousands of young people. And when the levee broke in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, the loss of your own home did not distract you from leading the recovery efforts at Xavier and beyond. For persistent witness to the power of Catholic education, for your visionary courage that shepherded a storm-weary region to restoration and rebirth, for your love of God and country that won't rest until all are equally free as intended by their Creator, the University of Notre Dame rejoices to confer its highest honor, the Laetare Medal, on Norman Christopher Francis, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Thank you. President Jenkins, faculty, families, friends, and of course the class of 2019. Congratulations to you. Now, I have a speech here, and I knew it was a good speech because all of my friends here and my honorary degree recipients all used it. So I was watching the clock and said, well, they told me I had 3 minutes. Well, I can't say my name in 3 minutes. But I'm so happy at least to be graduating in 2019 with 2 honorary degrees from Notre Dame. Now, you have to understand how important that is. You see, my mother and father did not graduate from high school. Now, faculty members, I want to congratulate you untiringly for what you've done for this class. And I say that because I had the honor of saying to the faculty members in kind words that though my mother and father did not graduate from high school, they were two of the smartest people I knew, and that included the faculty of my institution. They didn't fire me, they let me stay 47 years. And I want to congratulate all of my colleagues, and particularly for our guest speaker. I spent 34 years under Plessy versus Fergus. I don't know if there are too many people in here know what Plessy versus Ferguson was. And it was a kind of, I'm not sure I can explain this well, and I'm saying this to you because I have such gratitude to the University of Notre Dame for choosing me for the Laetare Medal. And I'm sorry that my mother and father were not here today, and my wife of 60 years. And I say this to you because I was never intended to be standing at this podium, but I am here. And, you know, I said a prayer the other day, and I said, God, I've done a lot of, I hope, good things, but I'm not sure what you want me to do next. I said, you're being a little slow in responding, but I am here. And let me say to you, I'm speaking not for myself, I'm speaking for a large number of people who never got the opportunity to speak at a podium like this at a great university. And I say this to you because I think, maybe I should say I know, that America has lost in that era in Plessy versus Ferguson some of the greatest Americans to be, but never got the chance to do it. So I'm not speaking for myself personally, I'm speaking for the people who never got the chance. And when I decided to make some notes, I decided to choose maybe a couple of things, but I'm going to choose only one this morning, because I know you're easy sitting there saying, oh, God, when is he ever going to stop talking? Well, 47 years taught me a little bit about being a president and staying too long. But the issue today in America is manifold. And the one that I think is so important, and was mentioned today by our valedictorian speaker, is that poverty is growing like wildfire in America today. And I don't think we all appreciate how wide poverty is across the board from what I call the quality of life issues. There is no equality in the quality of life issue. You just think of any one of them, from education to health to housing to employment. It is not equal, and it's far from being equitable. And so I'm trying to put my little piece in, and let me say before I go much further, I have total faith in my country, I have total faith in myself, and I have total faith that all of us are going to come together, but apparently not immediately, apparently. And I don't think there's anyone in here today believes that the playing field is equal. And part of it was Plessy versus Ferguson. It was like a volcano and the aftershocks are still around. And why I'm so happy to be here and to have heard the beauty of the discussions here in the speeches is that you are the ones that we're going to hand that, I say, the reason for making this country even better than it is. And it's not in the future. The future is now. And there's an old saying, Chinese proverb that says, too late to dig well when the house is on fire. Too late to dig the well when the house is on fire. So you are going to have to do a lot more than has been done by some of us. And we worked hard to try to do it, but we haven't done that yet. Education is the roadway out of poverty. No way you turn it upside down if you're not educated in a country like America that was built the first schoolhouse when it hit on the shores of the land that we're on today. And so the question is, what are we going to do to make sure that education fulfills what the God intended to each one of you? And each one of you is going to be expected to be a leader. I don't care where you are, whether you're in a lodge somewhere or in one of the fraternities, all of you, not all of you, some of you are going to have to be leaders. You can't sit around and just talk. You've got to do something. And why I'm happy to be here, I wanted to speak in part to plead with you to make the distribution of education from elementary school to where you are, PhDs and the like. The road is in education, and it's going to have to be distributed equitably. Equitably. You heard the introduction, and yes, I chaired the commission to bring Louisiana part of Mississippi after Katrina. And the governor asked me to chair that. I had lost my house. I was about to lose the university. My God, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. My wife had her own ideas about that, and she probably was right, but I thought she was wrong. And I stand here today to you to apologize to her in front of you, to say I should have given her much more attention than she did. But I was fighting with my colleagues to be equitably in distributing the resources we have. And there was I guess it was a senator from Louisiana. I don't know if you know anything about Louisiana and politics and so forth. It's kind of complicated, but it comes down to, is there going to be the leadership that's going to distribute it equitably? But this senator stood up and said, well, I'm so happy we have somebody who's going to distribute the money equally. And I said, I apologize, but that's not the way we're going to do it. Oh, I thought you believed in equal opportunity for distribution. I believe in that, but I believe in equitably, that if you had a 50% loss and we get money for repair, we give you 50% money to get you back where you hope to be. But if I distributed it with the committee equally, you're going to be in the same boat you were before Katrina. So I'm here to plead with you that all of us are going to have to come together, as I said earlier, as partners to be able to make what we want this country to be. And I'm willing to say it ain't what it should be. And there are a lot of people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And the only way we're going to do it is come together as people. Let me tell you the story, and then I'm going to sit down. Somebody said, well, how did you develop your persona? not much different than most other people. But I was 4 years old, living in a small black neighborhood in a small town called Lafayette, Louisiana. And a good friend in that little neighborhood, the only one, was a young Caucasian man, young man, who played, sock ball, all kinds of things. And one day, about 5 of the men in the neighborhood was asked by me, what are they doing with all this lumber being placed in their side yard? He said, well, son, your best friend, only friend there who was Caucasian, is building the coffin for this young lady who's married to this fine young man. They have no money, so they're going to build the coffin. I didn't fully understand it then. I understand it now. And if we could come together with that thought in mind, across lines, we are in a different era than we were in the 40s and 50s. So today I'm asking you, I'm not asking you to be all teachers, but you are going to be a teacher wherever you are, and you're going to have to be committed to that. We're not there yet. And the one thing that helped me understand it more, I thought I did, I happen to be, I think the speaker knows that, I happen to be under President Reagan's, I'll call it Commission on Excellence in Education. But what it really came out to be, a nation at risk. You might want to get to the computer, just look it up. A nation at risk. And I think we heard that this morning. We are at risk, but we don't have to be at risk. So I ask you, do something about it. Just don't talk about it as we have. And my question I ask, and I had a good speech, and you saw I didn't turn a page. I'm asking you the question. If it's not you, I ask you who. If it's not now, I ask you when. And I ask you with the greatest hope in mind and the great spirit in mind, do something about education. Hire great teachers, believe that they can learn, help them as they go. And if anything else, get the best advisors from elementary school to high school to college. There are a lot of young people at the college level don't know what they want to be, don't want to, and somebody isn't telling them frankly what it'll take, as you have done, to be what you can be, should be, and God gave you the right to do. So thank you, congratulations to all of you. God bless you.
President Fields, in your words today, you've challenged our students to be leaders and teachers. In serving as president of Xavier University for almost 50 years, you showed us how. In growing up as a child, poor, and in a country that at that time especially was not kind to African Americans, you demonstrated what a difference in education will make. You are eloquent in these words, and I think we will all remember your message. But even more, you spoke with uncommon eloquence from the heart. And I think more than anything else, that's what we will remember. Thank you for honoring us by accepting the Laetare Medal. Yesterday, degrees were awarded by the Graduate School, the Graduate Division of Mendoza College of Business, the Law School, and the Keough School of Global Affairs, so that we too may congratulate these graduates. With those of you who received your degrees at one of these ceremonies, please rise and please join me in congratulating them. The dean of each college and school awarding baccalaureate degrees will now formally present to the university's president, Father John Jenkins, the candidates for their degrees. I ask that each dean, in turn, beginning with Dean Sarah Mastillo of the College of Arts and Letters, please come forward to present the candidates for the baccalaureate degrees. Dean Mastillo.
Will the candidates for the bachelor degree in the College of Arts and Letters and the faculty of the College of Arts and Letters please rise? Reverend Father President, I am pleased to present to you the candidates who have completed the requirements for the bachelor degree in the College of Arts and Letters. As Dean of the College and in the name of the faculty of the college, I now ask that you confer upon these students the degree which they have earned.
Thank you, Dean Mastillo. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of Notre Dame du Lac and in the name of the trustees of the university and the faculty of the College of Arts and Letters, I solemnly and publicly confer on you the degree recommended by your dean. We admit you to all its rights and privileges and remind you of the responsibilities you are about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
Will the candidates for the degree of the bachelor degree in the College of Science and the faculty of the College of Science please rise? Reverend Father President, I'm pleased to present to you the candidates who have completed the requirements for the bachelor degree in the College of Science. As the Dean of the College and in the name of the faculty of the college, I now ask that you confer upon these students the degree which they have earned.
Thank you, Dean Galvin. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, in the name of the trustees of the university and the faculty of the College of Science, I now publicly confer on you the degree recommended by your dean. We admit you to all its rights and privileges. We remind you of the responsibilities you are about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
Will the candidates for the bachelor degree in the College of Engineering and the faculty of the College of Engineering please rise? Reverend Father President, I'm pleased to present to you the candidates who have completed the requirements for the bachelor degree in the College of Engineering. As Dean of the College and in the name of the faculty of the college, I now ask that you confer upon these students the degree which they have earned.
Thank you, Dean Fuja. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, in the name of the trustees of the university and the faculty of the College of Engineering, I now solemnly and publicly confer on you the degree recommended by your dean. We admit you to all its rights and privileges. We remind you of the responsibilities you are about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
Will the candidates for the bachelor degree in the Mendoza College of Business and the faculty of the Mendoza College of Business please rise? Reverend Father President, I'm pleased to present to you the candidates who have completed the requirements for the bachelor degree in the Mendoza College of Business. As Dean of the College, and in the name of the faculty of the college, I now ask that you confer upon these students the degree which they have earned.
Thank you, Dean Kremers. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, in the name of the trustees of the university and the faculty of the Mendoza College of Business, I now solemnly and publicly confer on you the degree recommended by your dean. We admit you to all its rights and privileges and remind you of the responsibilities you are about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
Will the candidates for the bachelor degree in the School of Architecture and the faculty of the School of Architecture please rise?
Yay.
Reverend Father President, I am pleased to present to you the candidates who have completed the requirements for the bachelor degree in the School of Architecture. As Dean of the school, in the name of the faculty of the school, I now ask that you confer upon these students the degree which they have earned.
Well, thank you, Dean Lakutis. By the authority vested in me as president of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, in the name of the trustees of the university and the faculty of the School of Architecture, I now solemnly and publicly confer on you the degree recommended by your dean. We admit you to all its rights and privileges. We remind you of the responsibilities you are about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations. Congratulations to each and every one of you. We're tremendously proud of you. We know you're most deserving of the degrees you have just received. But we also know, and you very well know, you would not be here if it were not for the support, care, and love of your parents, guardians, and families. They have many, many, many times cheered and encouraged you. Now it's your turn. I ask all graduates to stand and applaud those around you who supported you, your parents, guardians. Thank you. Just a personal word. I just want to publicly recognize and thank someone who has been such a great servant to this university, someone who has been a great colleague of mine. John Affleck Graves has served for 15 years as Executive Vice President, over 30 years as a member in the Finance Department of our Mendoza College of Business. A highly capable and selfless leader, has always been selflessly devoted to the University of Notre Dame. He's been an invaluable colleague and friend to me. Our loss is your gain, students, as he will go back to teaching in the College of Business. There's only one serious criticism I've ever had of John. He didn't have a Notre Dame degree. I'm glad we were able to correct that today. Graduates, after much ceremony and many speeches, I have little add to as a way of a charge but this. Take what you have learned here at Notre Dame and let it enable you to go forth and do good. Always be generous with your time, your talent, and all you have in your family life, your professional life, your spiritual life, every day of your life. Never forget that your charge as Notre Dame graduates is to be a force for good in the world. Keep alive the friendships you've formed here. They will provide joy, strength, and comfort in the years ahead. They will be among the great treasures of your life. One of my true joys as president of the University of Notre Dame is to meet alumni all around the world and hear of their remarkable accomplishments and their dedicated service. There will, I'm sure, for each one of you be great successes and accomplishments in your future, and I look forward to the day when I will meet you and be proud that you are a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. I am also sure that for each of you, there will be challenges, frustrations, disappointments, and detours in your life. Always know that you are in our prayers here at Notre Dame, and whatever happens in your life, you always have a home here at Notre Dame to renew your heart and refresh your spirit. God bless you all.
There are two individuals on the stage who will be leaving their positions at the end of this academic year. The first you've heard a lot about already, John Affleck Graves, who has been recognized with an honorary degree and by Father John's heartfelt comments. John's also been my partner for the last 14 years, ever since I returned to Notre Dame. The EVP and provost have to work hand in glove or things don't work at all. To the extent that Notre Dame has progressed academically, and it has enormously because of the faculty and the donors who've allowed the faculty to achieve at the highest level, John also had a lot to do with it. I want to add my thanks to John for devoting his professional life to Notre Dame. The second person is our dean, Nell Newton. Nell has been dean of the law school for a decade. She has served with commitment, integrity, skill, and generosity. Nell, would you please stand so all of us might express our gratitude to you? Class of 2019, Dr. Ken Dye and his staff, Mr. Daniel Stowe and your fellow student musicians have provided our music this weekend and throughout the year. And at every commencement, Father Foster leads our singing. Would you join me in giving a round of applause to our musicians? This afternoon, the graduates on whom Father John just conferred bachelor's degrees will receive their diplomas at ceremonies that are listed in your program. Where their location is in the program. The program indicates that these ceremonies will begin at 2 p.m. That has been changed. They will now begin at noon. The place is the same, but the time has changed to noon. Class of 2019, I join Father John in extending to you, on behalf of my colleagues on the board on the faculty, and on the staff the best wishes of your alma mater, now and for all the days of your life. Let us remember to commit ourselves to each other, to helping each other as we would help family members, members of the Notre Dame family. And please work to keep this university the intellectually vibrant, caring, spiritually rich touch point it has been for you, and that we must leave it for the generations after us. I bid you goodbye, good fortune, and God's abundant grace. Our 2019 commencement exercises will now conclude with the singing of Ave Maria, performed by the Glee Club led by Director Stowe, the benediction provided by Bishop Rhodes, and finally the singing of Notre Dame, Our Mother, led by Father Foster and accompanied by the Glee Club. Thank all of you for being here today. Thank all of you who are with us through other sites on campus or the internet. And to graduates, again, congratulations.
Angelus Domini, nunciavit Mariae, et concepit Spiritus Sancto. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum et fructus ventris tui,
We conclude this commencement ceremony as we began, by turning to the Lord who loves us, invoking God's blessing upon our graduates as they go forth from Notre Dame. We also ask Our Lady to be with them always, with her maternal love and protection. Please stand. The Lord be with you. I invite you to bow your heads for God's blessing. May Almighty God keep you from all harm and bless you with every good gift. May he set his word in your heart and fill you with lasting joy. May you walk in his ways like Mary, our mother, always knowing what is right and good until you enter your heavenly inheritance. And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.